Good morning, Terry Ensberg here. Today, my quote is: History is a pack of lies, events that never happened told by people who weren't there. George Santayana said that. Probably not saying that right. This video, more than most, is for my grandchildren when they get older and for young people who wonder what life was really like 50 years ago. I'm not one of those people who think that because something happened in my childhood means it's special or better, or the old days were good old days. But it was very different, and I think in the long run, history will look back at the. I was born in '57. People will look back at that period as being closer in culture to the 1800s than to the 2000s. We, I would say the main difference, and this is just obvious, is that we didn't have technology so much. I mean, we had basic telephone, one phone in the house, one black dial up phone in the house in the beginning, one TV, black and white. And then, of course, it grew from there. I remember the first time I saw color TV was on Halloween, trick or treating. I was standing on someone's porch and looked through the window into their living room, and they had color TV, and we were just amazed. It was like magic. I couldn't wait to get a color TV. Fortunately, my dad felt the same way, so we did get one fairly early when they were available. And eventually we got phones all over the place, but they were all, of course, attached to the wall. But that was considered pretty luxurious to have a phone, more than one phone. And then we got a microwave, and so that was kind of we. I remember wondering. I mean, the advantage was it cooks fast, and I remember wondering why that was important. Who cares how long it takes to cook? But I liked to get to keep up as a child, and this is so bad. But I remember, telling my parents, "Why don't we have a microwave yet? Migrant farm workers have microwaves, and we don't have one." So we did get one. Um, it was very common for a family to have one car for the whole family, and that worked because women stayed home. One of the biggest differences was that people accepted living in smaller houses and having smaller closets. So it was very common then for a family with 4 or 5 kids to be raised in a 1,200 square foot house. And that was okay, that worked. But kids weren't in the house that much. They were outside. Mostly they came in to sleep. They didn't play in that much. We played out a lot, and we didn't have to be watched all the time. So it was the whole kind of placement of bodies was different. The general rule was be home when the streetlights come on. Excuse me, I have allergies. And people didn't worry we would be kidnapped. In fact, they probably worried we wouldn't sometimes. But um, we could go down to the stores and wander around at a very young age. Everybody thought that was safe. Nobody thought that was negligent. The size in houses, I think, changed when probably in the 70s or 80s, women went back to work in larger numbers, and people could afford bigger houses. So the way the money worked was before women went back to work, people lived on one income, and it was considered normal to have like a 1,200 square foot house, one car, go on one vacation a year, eat out once a week. That was Everybody was fine with that. That didn't seem like a deprived life at all. When women went back to work, it didn't double people's incomes, but it increased it. And that's when people started looking at like 4,000 square foot homes when they weren't even home because the mothers were working too and the kids went to daycare. So it was a strange oppositional thing where the less they were home, the more they seemed to need bigger homes. And it seemed to me at around that time that there got to be some unwritten rule that kids had to be in activities all the time. And one of the most interesting things to me that I've noticed in this pandemic is how similar now it is for the first time to how it used to be. So my husband Steve and I will be walking around the neighborhood taking a walk, and we'll see people playing like badminton in their front yard, or they're kicking a ball around, or they're using their space, they're staying home and actually developing their own space. There'll be swing sets, or that kind of thing. Much more intensive use of people's own yards than I have seen in recent decades. People finding ways to entertain themselves at home and with kids too. And a lot of people just sit out front and watch the kids in the front yard. We did that a lot with our kids, and that was normal. And so just seeing families spending time together in their own yards has been, I like it. I think it looks very comforting or something to see people just kind of fully using what they have and not just buying it and then moving on and going off and doing other things. Not that there's anything wrong with doing other things, but there's something kind of satisfying about seeing people use the space they work so hard to pay for, and that they're doing things together instead of all going off in different directions. I've enjoyed seeing that. The sense of that we have now, that shopping is a recreation, we did not have that at all. The idea that what do you want to do today? I don't know, let's go shopping, which is something I do. I love that. But we didn't have that. And it wasn't a function of income either. We just didn't have a concept for it. It wasn't, at least in my family, nobody ever said, what do you want to do Saturday? Go wander around. In those days, it would have been like Penny's or Broadway or something. It just wasn't a thing. And eating out wasn't a thing. Eating out was something you did like for a birthday, or people, because relatives were visiting from out of town. We didn't routinely eat out. We pretty much cooked in all the time, and that too has been true in the pandemic. And the idea of takeout food like McDonald's, that was just getting going when I was a kid. But we didn't think of it. By the time I was in high school, we did. We used it a lot. But when I was a small child, that was not part of anybody's routine. It was accepted that you cooked at home every night, and that was the deal. And, usually you bought lunch at school and you ate breakfast at home. So these are some of the differences I've seen between the old days and now. There are so many, but these are the ones that are up front in my mind, and that not better, not worse. Actually, probably worse. I wouldn't give up my cell phone and my iPad for anything. But if you're a kid and you're wondering what was it like in the old days, going back to my quote, history is a pack of lies, events that never happened told by people who weren't there. I'm telling you stuff I was there for, and I appreciate you listening. See you next time. Bye.